Mm-hmm.
And now they're on Earth, they're mining gold, and they create Adam's calendar at the edge of this giant gold mine that we discussed, the whole crater there below it, which is just a giant ancient gold mine with all the yellow sand, all the leftover. And on the edge of that cliff, you built Adam's calendar, which is a machine, obviously, very powerful machine that not only generates energy, but it's clearly a teleportation device. It's a beam me up Scotty device. And the reason they put it there was so that they could send the gold somewhere. And that was my conclusion. I reached that conclusion many years ago already. We're just getting more and more evidence that that's what it was, and scientific support. Argument that it was a teleportation device, a beam me up Scotty device that was not necessarily for people, but more for earthly physical objects like gold, that they would be able to put there and use the power and the energy generated by Adam's calendar to put coordinates into it and teleport the gold wherever they wanted to go. Now, the question is, obviously, they created Adam's calendar for more than just one purpose. That was one of the purposes. But because it was on Earth and the calendar wasn't going anywhere, it was there to serve a purpose for the gold mining operation there, probably a communication device, a teleportation device, and many other things that we haven't even considered. So the reason they didn't use a spacecraft or anything is because it was a physical feature, a permanent physical feature to possibly provide energy for all the gold mining operation as well, and many other things, and then get the gold off Earth as well. Because, as you know, the big question is, where is all the gold? We've been mining gold for thousands of years, especially the last 200 years has been just a crazy explosion of gold mining around the world. Where is all the gold? We're mining more gold now than we've ever mined before, except obviously the Anunnaki mine in ancient times. Yeah. That's a whole another scale of gold mining that we can't comprehend. But in our ability to comprehend gold mining in the world today, we're mining insane amounts of gold. New gold mines are opening up every year. Not just one or two, hundreds of new gold mines open every year. You keep adding that to the gold mining production of the world. It's insane. Where is all the gold? And many people are asking that, and the answer to that is we don't know. What the suggestions, obviously, and a reasonably good answer to that is probably not on Earth. It's going somewhere else. How it gets there is an interesting question. But so let's come back to the channelings and your site guides and
right. Well, yes, we were going to talk about the genetic engineering, human manipulation stuff. Should we go back there?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go there. Yeah.
So, where were we? Right. So
Homesick Hill. We were at Homesick Hill.
Right.
Now, sorry, John Paul. Now the question is, if they could, have you got any thoughts about this? If they could come and go so easily with their spacecraft between their planet and our planet, why would they not be able to go back home to say hello to their family and hang out and then come back and do some more work on Earth? Because that seems to be a problem. Even when they describe their activities on Mars, it's like when they went to Mars, a lot of them were stuck on Mars. And I haven't figured out why that is the case yet. There's obviously a good reason that we haven't figured out yet, but they seem to have been stuck on Earth as well.
Well, they weren't stuck on Earth because when the whole thing went down and everybody had to leave, they left. So they did all leave en masse when everybody was kicked off. But various ones of them have said that when we sign on for these expeditions, we know that we're on this expedition for the duration. That you make a commitment to this thing and that's your commitment. And you're there for as long as it's going to be, and you may never go back because you're there. If you're sign on to the mining operation or you sign on to the genetic lab, that's your thing. That's what you're doing. So it's not that you can't come and go if you wanted. It's that you've made a commitment, or this is your position, or this is what you have signed on to do. So it felt like they were stuck, but then most of them talk about the fact that they committed to this expedition.
Okay.
So they were here for expeditions. And, because they lived for hundreds and hundreds of years, I don't have a concept of how long an expedition would be.
Thousands of years based on the evidence that we find here.
Yep.
Okay. You know what? So do you have anything juicy and interesting that you want to add to the genetic engineering and the experiments there at Homesick Hill and the Welcome Circle?
Sure. So there was a couple of things that I thought came out in various places that were interesting. One was that they started, so they have to accept, everyone that's watching this and listening to this, it can't be old news that the Anunnaki genetically engineered us. I mean, they need to read your books. They need to understand that this is the deal. So we're starting from that as a baseline, that they needed these workers. They created this worker. Here we go. So they created this that was part their DNA and part the DNA of the evolving Neanderthal-ish species. So that created this hybrid, which gives us this jump. And they said that it was a hermaphroditic creature. So they were cloning and it's a hermaphroditic creature. They were mostly male in the way that they were constructed. Their genitalia was just waste elimination. It wasn't for sexual reproduction at all. And that the problem with that was that they didn't last very long, that they would incubate them until the point that they were adult size, they would release them, but they only lasted. So they said in your lifespan, about 20 years. That was all we got out of it.
John Paul, hold on. Is this one of the channelings and the downloads, the information you got from one of the site whisperers and guardians? Oh my God, this is actually unbelievable, because this is exactly the channeling I got. When I spoke earlier about having 100 questions, yes or no answers.
Oh yeah,
that's the one channel that I did, and this must have been 2008. Very early days of Adam's Calendar exploration search. I went to a very famous channeler in Johannesburg. She got big clients, and it's really interesting. Some of her clients are like CEOs of big companies, like stock exchange companies, that come to her for channeling. Never publicly state that, but she's got some serious heavy duty clients that come to her for advice and channelings. So I went to her and I did this whole thing with the yes or no questions for about an hour and a half.
Oh.
Out of that came the whole thing of cloning. Were they male or female? And no, exactly. They were asexual. They were mostly masculine, strong, but they couldn't reproduce. And like you said, and they wouldn't last long. They lasted maybe 20 years, or if that 20 or 30 years. And they would be cloned and born into adulthood. So they didn't start as children. I mean, Anunnaki weren't going to look after children. So they cloned them to be born as adults. So I'm going to throw it back at you to add to this. This is just fantastic. So two complete separate channelings that corroborate exactly the same. And they were cloned in these cloning chambers. A long time ago, I just believed immediately that these were cloning chambers, and that was confirmed to me in that channeling that, yes, those hexagonal structures that I've often shown were the cloning chambers. So I'm throwing it back to you to hear what you got.
Yes, I mean, on the bucket list of places that we need to go stand in, it's one of those. I haven't been to one of those places with you. So then they said, and the creature, they always called it the creature would get disease. It would it wasn't a very strong or sustainable creature. So they said, and it would have all kinds of mutations and distortions as you started cloning along. Any mutation would just go rampant, and then you have to back up. And so it was just difficult. So they said it was so much easier once they created the female. And they said, look, let's just let it reproduce on its own. Let's see how it goes. So there's that other circle that's off just as you walk. The normal way we walk in, you pass kind of a circle that's been repurposed many times. But that was the original place where the female creature was created. And they said that the beauty of that was that once you worked with the female and the whole menstruation cycle, then you have a creature that cleanses itself and it renews itself. And it's so much easier to modify because the female is stronger